Hey guys, it's Beth, and today I'm back with the birthday edition of my All Seasons 3 pad. I feel like I've been all over the place this summer with the different seasons and holidays and themes. But this week I finished off the birthday patterns here. So there was 4 different patterns and there were 3 sheets of each pattern left. And I got tons of cards and envelopes, all kinds of goodies. And also, I don't know if anybody saw my YouTube post the other day that my awesome husband is making me a dedicated recording space, and it can also be used for my product photography for our Etsy shop and all that. So I am testing that out today. We are still working on lighting and placement of everything, but just trying to test out the space today. So hopefully this will ultimately be better. I can do process videos with hopefully a less shaky camera. And when I do a process video, I can actually leave everything out and still get other work done because I can use my other desk table for work and still leave the process video stuff out because it always takes me several days. Okay, now into the cards. You guys have heard me talk about this before, but when I start a pad project or even like a section of a pad, I tend to start with the easiest project that I've thought of first, just because that gets my juices flowing, the mojo going, whatever. So there was one of the sheets that was like a full sheet of candles, except for one of the corners, one of the bottom corners had Make-A-Wish in it. So looking at this, I was like, I could just cut that down and it's an A2 size card. Perfect. So that's exactly what I did. I cut all 3 of them down and glued them to my card base, and voila, one of the easiest cards I've ever made. Already has my sentiment. It has, you know, some birthday pattern on it. Done. So along those same lines, I used My Favorite Things sketch number 393 and took the rest of that, or not the rest, but some more of that candle paper, and then there was also a one of the patterns was a bunch of border strips, and one of the border just said happy birthday all the way across. So I trimmed down that happy birthday border, matted it with some white cardstock, and then, yeah, just layered that on there. So another easy card. And then sticking with easy, I took those border sheets, 2 of the border sheets actually, and decided to cut them down and make some little birthday note cards as well. And these are actually just shy of A2. They're 4 inches by 5.5 instead of 4 1/4. And that is so that I could get 6 full card fronts out of one 12 by 12 sheet. And then some of them had the happy birthday like going across, but not all of them. So to be consistent, I just stamped happy birthday, and you know, this stamp had like a hat and candles in it, which is kind of in a lot of the patterns. And so I just used that on all of them. Even if they already said happy birthday, I kind of covered it up. So got 12 of those. So that used up a good chunk of the paper. And then I used My Favorite Things sketch number 167 and kept it pretty simple. There's just a lot going on already on these patterns in this paper, so a lot of times I don't really use any embellishments, at least not on the normal cards. I did on the fun fold cards, but I didn't really use any embellishments, and I just tried to keep them simple just because I feel like they're already pretty busy. But so this one I just used the present pattern here, and then my happy birthday sentiment goes across. This happy birthday was printed from my silhouette, but then I also have this one which I stamped. Next is October Card Sketch Challenge sketch number 4. I don't know if that's going to focus. And again, just used my pattern paper as my card mat, and then just used a cardstock for the strip and then to back my sentiment. And this sentiment was fun. I found this on my silhouette and like sized it and printed and cut them out and punched them out into circles. But then it's got this little balloon, and so I used either a colored pencil on this one, Copic markers on these to color them in to kind of coordinate with the strip that was behind it. So these kind of were like a reddish orange. So those were kind of fun. This is My Favorite Things Sketch 372. And again, I used the pattern paper as my card mat and then took a border strip here, cut it out, and then backed it on some orange cardstock just to help it pop out a little bit. And then used whatever happy birthday strip I had, like this one. I think they all came, these are left from my silhouette ones that I had printed out, but this one's a little bit different. This is Freshly Made Sketches number 327. And you cut them like at an angle. So I did one horizontal and one vertical. And in the sketch they didn't really show, they just showed them kind of meeting, but I decided to go ahead and put a cardstock strip just to break up the patterns a little bit. And then because I used green behind my sentiment here, and I decided to add a little fishtail banner just to kind of help pull the green in. Next, I used Reverse Confetti Sketch number 27. And for some reason, these turned out to be my favorite cards. Very simple, but they're my favorite. So I had a bunch of that candle pattern paper left, and they were like smaller, like almost square size pieces. And so I decided to group them together with some more of those border strips because these were the perfect width. So in some cases, depending on the width of my candle paper here, I had to mat it on cardstock. But then other times I was able to put it directly onto my card base. But I got several different varieties of those. This one I ran out of the border strip, and so I had to use a little of that birthday words paper. And then here's like a horizontal version of it. I like the combination of these two papers together a lot. And then I got to the point where I was using like whatever random pieces I had left. So this one was a larger piece, not big enough for a card mat, but it was a larger piece. And so this is similar to a sketch that I like use all the time. So I just backed it on some green cardstock but left more of a border, and then added a sentiment down here across the bottom. And then here I was kind of just piecing together strips in order to make a card front. So you can see there's two different patterns, and I covered the seam here with a thin strip of cardstock that I had left. I had a bunch of these, and I didn't always have the same color of strip or the same color of cardstock that backed my sentiment as what I had in my strip. So in several cases I tried to pull in both of those different cardstocks together, either at the bottom or the top, just to kind of tie it all together a little bit better. But I had a bunch of these where I was piecing them together. And this one I actually had horizontal strips instead of vertical strips. So I did the same thing, just covered that seam here with an orange strip. This one I just added some white to break up the patterns a little bit. Look at my little fishtail flags there. And then this one, it was two thinner strips and I had a big gap. And so rather than like shrinking it down, I just decided to use one of the wider border strip pieces that was left and cover that big gap in the center. So, and then this one is just add ink sketch, and again had a bigger piece of that present paper left. And I really like this combination for some reason. The light yellow with that teal. It's like a sweet combination, but it pops really well. So that's probably one of my other favorites. Then I got into these smaller scraps. This is Operation Right Home sketch number 203. And was just using, I had these strips left after making the little note card sets. So I was just trying to use those up, and then I did that little happy birthday with the balloon again. And I did a lot of stitch circles to back my sentiments in this round of cards. Same thing, just use some thinner strips. Here is Operation Right Home number 57. Just use some of the chunkier pieces that I had. Kind of piece them together with trying to leave like a little border with the card mat. And then here, using up those smaller pieces. And this sketch doesn't have a name when I printed it out, but I will link it in the description box below. Used up a bunch of little squares on that one and just covered the center with a star, because I found out I'm horrible at lining these pieces up. Sometimes, like, they always get off a little bit in the center, so I just covered that with a star. Here's Operation Right Home sketch number 25. Just use some like bigger rectangle pieces. And I had one little strip of this happy birthday border left, so I just cut it on either side of this full happy birthday and let that be my sentiment. This one is Mojo Monday, sketch number 238. And used some small squares again, and I was 3 squares short for this card. So I just pulled in some cardstock scraps that I had left as well, but then stamped them with a little birthday image. And I used the brown ink to match the brown in the Make-A-Wish. And then this is Sunday Sketch 090113. And it uses, instead of squares or rectangle, it uses fishtails. So I like this card too. I like the color combination, I think. Well, it's that teal with the little yellow dots, my little circle punches down here. So that was my normal cards. And then I did 6 fun fold card, kind of like an accordion or Z-fold, I guess. I'm not sure what you'd want to call it. But I used I had found a pen from Ink It Up with Jessica, and she gave the dimensions and everything in her blog post, so I will include a link to this in the description box below. But I ended up adapting her measurements a little bit, not on purpose the first time, because she has you cut a piece that's 4 1/4 inches by 11, and I either just forgot about the 11 or got distracted, I don't know. So I didn't end up cutting that extra inch off of my 12-inch piece, but I actually liked it better. So her card would have ended like right here. It would have been 4 1/4 by maybe 3. Mine ends up being almost square. Like, I think it's 4 1/4 by 4 1/8, something like that. So I just liked that size a little bit better. And then as far as my panels, I tried to alternate cardstock panel with a pattern paper panel, because I figured I made these for my kids to take to the birthday parties they go to this school year. So I figured they could write on the cardstock panels if they, write their little message. And then I really wasn't sure what to do for embellishments on these. I didn't have any actual embellishments in my stash that worked. I couldn't find anything. I mean, there was stuff I liked on the silhouette, but nothing was really calling to me to like put on this. For some reason I struggled. So finally I just decided to stamp a birthday cake and used my Copics to color it up in colors similar to what's in the card. And then on the gift, and also by this point when I went to embellish that, I was out of light orange. cardstock. So I went with this dark orange that's in this birthday words paper. And I thought, well, maybe on this one I'll just stamp directly onto it, which I don't know, it's bright, but I'm not sure I love it. But to dress it up a little bit, I ended up using some Wink of Stella just to give it a little dimension, but I did it on the bow as well as on the little cross ribbon here. So they are definitely bright, busy, and cheerful. And then I adapted it once again to make an A2 size card. So this ends up being, the total strip is 5.5 by 12. And once you fold it up, it ends up being 5.5 by 4 inches. So, and at the end, hopefully I cut one extra strip and pieces down, and hopefully we can make that one together. Also, I pulled out my envelope punch board and dusted it off because that hadn't been used in a really long time, and decided to make some little square envelopes to go with these smaller fun fold cards, because these will fit in here like perfect. Because the card I said was like 4.25 by 4, and the envelopes are about 4.5 square. And it used, I think the size of the paper it used was 7.5 inch square. And then just did some stitched rectangles here as a little label for my girls to write the names for the recipient on. It's been a long time since I've made envelopes. And then when I had my envelope punch board out, I decided to make a little gift card size envelope. Because I figured these would be good, you know, you can stick them in with a card, with your gift card, just to give the gift card a little bit more fun, I don't know. And I don't know, I'm sure it was user error here, but it's a little wonky. It's hard to tell here, but it's like a little crooked, and I didn't like the way the flaps, like even if I would have rounded it, I didn't like the way the flap came all the way over. So I decided to let my silhouette do the work for me on this one, and put one whole sheet of this pattern paper in there, and it cut 4 and like less time than it took me to make this one. And I like the style of this better. It's just cleaner because it's a solid, you know, a clean edge here where they meet. And then I like the type of flap it has better. So I ended up getting 4 of those for my silhouette, and then 1 made by hand. And then with these scraps that I had left, I made 4 little mini note cards. And these are 3 by 3. So it started with a 3 by 6 inch strip. And just use some of the scraps that I had, either full pieces or piece them together. Here, this one I pieced together from those angle cut cards that I had. So yeah, I got over 60, what did I get? Almost just shy of 60 big, you know, like A2 or the 4.25 inch cards. Got 60 of those, plus the 4 mini cards, the 3 envelopes, and then the little gift card holder. So that's pretty good for me. And then I did end up having some scraps left, and they were all this birthday words paper that I didn't love. So I don't know, I may, if I could, like here's one I could actually cut out Have a Great Day and use that on something else. So I may see if there's anything in here that I could cut out and use. And I also had a few little presents that I had fussy cut out of scraps that I didn't use. So I will save those and can embellish something with those, but that's what I had left. But all in all, a pretty good haul. And then give me a minute to clear some of this out, and then we will make one of the 5.5 inch size fun folds together. Okay, so I have already pre-cut my 5.5 by 12 inch card base. And then I've also pre-cut my pieces that I'll use to decorate it, that I'll let you know what those are, what sizes those are when I put them on. And then I've also done my embellishments and sentiments already. And again, I will include Jessica's blog post link below so you can have her dimensions and score lines, and then I will also include my dimensions and score lines. I used the same scoring marks as she did, I just changed the size of the card. So I'm using my old trimmer with the scoring blade, because that's how I roll. But when you score it, you want to score at 1.5 inches, 3 inches, 5.5 inches, and then at 8 inches. And that's it. So then I will use my bone folder to crease my lines. So basically you're just folding it accordion style. That bottom one, and that's it. So then as far as my paper pieces here, I have one piece of pattern paper and one piece of cardstock, both cut at 1 3/8 inch by 5 3/8 inch. And like I said, you could do pattern paper all the way through. I just decided to alternate with the cardstock just so there was a place to write. So, and also with the sizes that I made my strips, I made them so that there's a little bit of white border around them. Just because sometime when you're scoring, depending on where the score line falls, like it's not always in the same spot. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So I always like to leave a little bit of a border just to give me some wiggle room. So my next set of strips are 2 5/16 by 5 3/8. I definitely enjoyed the birthday paper a little more than that last round with the like playground paper, summer paper. But I'm still ready for some not so bold patterns, or like such distinct patterns. Like I'm ready for something that's a little more versatile, if that makes any sense. But I have gotten a ton of cards out of this pad, along with other stuff, so that's good. Alright, so my last panel here for this back piece is 4 1/16 by 5 3/8. And I know you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I've never made a fun fold card like this style. I've done gatefold, but I've never done like the Z fold or this accordion fold, other than the cards I made for teachers, which were more like an accordion album style. So this was a little bit different for me, which is always good. And then, like I said, I hadn't made envelopes in forever either, so decided to try some different things this time around. And there we go. Now for my embellishments, I have already got score tape on the back of my pieces here, but I have left like there's a little sliver that's going to overhang my fold here, and so I did not put any tape on that edge. And I decided to use score tape since it was overhanging. I didn't want it to, like if they use that to open the card, I didn't want it to pull off. I wanted it to hold really well. But I've seen these decorated up much more elaborately than what I'm doing I just, like I said, was really stuck on what to do. So there's that layer. And then I just have my stamped happy birthday sentiment that I will add on the very back panel. And it's just kind of peeking out here at the bottom. And there she is, super simple. Don't know why I hadn't tried that before. But again, everything will be in the description box below. I will also include my card sketches that I used, and there's a bunch of stamp sets that I use that don't have a name associated with them anymore because the packaging long ago tore, and so I've repackaged them and didn't keep the name for some reason. But any of those that I can find, I will link, as well as I used a lot of stitched dies this time, the rectangles and the circles, so I will also include those that I got from Amazon. But if you guys have any questions on anything, let me know. If you had a favorite card, let me know that as well. But my hope every time is that you guys get some usable ideas out of this. So hopefully you guys, if you have like some birthday themed paper, hopefully you got some good ideas on how to use it. And again, you know, with the envelopes and the mini cards, just some different ways to use up your paper as well. But if you like this, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Stay tuned for more ideas. I still have a few seasons left in this pad, including Valentine's Day and Christmas, so stay tuned for those. But as always, thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you have a crafty day.